Hello, welcome to Moist Nougat. I am the kid. Last week's episode was the first episode I did solo, so I know it fell a little flat. But this week we're going to jump right into it. I hopefully prepared a little bit better. I want to say congrats to my niece Emily. She ran the Indianapolis Monumental Marathon today, 26.2 miles, and we got up this morning, watched her on the app, tracking her, and she did everything she could do to qualify for the Boston Marathon, is what she wants to do for the 2025 Boston Marathon, because 2024 is already qualified. I'm not 100% up on the marathon circuit and all the rules and regulations. She won't know for a few months, but we're hoping that she qualified for that. She hit her time. She averaged under 8 minutes a mile, and that's just a huge accomplishment. So we're all very proud of her. A couple of corrections and updates from last week. I this is an old segment. I used to do corrections and updates when we couldn't think of something, or we did something wrong. When I was listening back to the podcast and taking notes and stuff like that, I would write these down, and then I would go look it up and try to get the correct answer. But I kept calling it Aldi's. It's not Aldi's, it's Aldi. Just flat out Aldi. And Mr. and Mrs. Cheap, his channel on TikTok is John Eats Cheap. And it's kind of fun to watch him. It's like I said, it's not all Aldi based, but he does a lot of Aldi comparisons, like to name brand and Aldi brand. But he also goes out and has, tries, food at restaurants and stuff like that. Kind of decided to go with a theme this week. Well, before we get into that, last night I'm hoping that the video works on this camera. I don't know what happened. I was trying to shoot a video, a not podcast video, and I had 35 minutes of video on my new Canon R10 camera, and when I dumped down the footage, for some reason it got corrupted or something. It was it just didn't exist. It wasn't there. So it was very, very frustrating because I lost 35 minutes of video, and I had, at some point you'll find out. But so I'm using that camera again. I'm not using a backup camera. I'm just using this camera, and I'm trying to make sure that it's recording, which I did last night, and we'll see. I went out and bought a SD card reader today instead of a new data cable. It's easier to take the card out, put it into a card reader. My computer does not have a SD card reader, so I had to buy an external SD card reader. So hopefully that all works out. But my theme this week, I guess, is, if you want to call it a theme or whatever, what I focused on was things that irritate me, and it's pretty much an endless list. There are so many things that irritate me. But one of them is, you remember when you used to go to the grocery store and you'd buy a bag of chips and a thing of dip, and you go home and you'd open the chips and open the dip, and you'd sit there and pull out chips and dip them in the dip, and maybe have a Coke or something along with it. But it doesn't seem to work anymore. There was always crumbs at the bottom of the bag. You know what I mean? the bottom of the bag. But now when you go buy a bag of chips, basically the whole fucking bag is just crumbs. I mean, you're lucky if you find like 10 whole potato chips in a bag of chips. And it's not a particular brand. And it might be a regional thing. I don't know what the fuck these people are doing with the potato chips when they put them on the shelves or when they bring them into the store or what. But, like, I just, you can't eat chips and dips. And I know Dana Lee and I talked about this quite a while back. But even crackers now, you get you go get a box of crackers, and half of them are broke. I got a box of, and this isn't a bad thing necessarily, but I got a box of wheat thins like a week ago, and I opened them up and I was eating them, munching on them, and the whatever cuts them into the little squares apparently wasn't working. Because they were coming out and there was like 3 of them attached, like almost the whole box. It was like 3 of them, and they'd snap it was almost like a perforation, but I was like, gee, the machines aren't even working right anymore. And you wonder why they have all these recalls on shit, because like nobody's checking anything. It's just willy-nilly, and yet they want to jack the prices up on everything. Buy my, hell of a good dip. It used to be $2 for, a tub. Now it's $16.50 for a tub. Good luck finding anything that you can actually dip into it, because all the chips are like little micro pieces. You basically, you got to the end of the bag of chips, when there was just crumbs in there. And what most guys do is they, get it all into the corner, and then they tip the bag up and dump the rest of the chips into their mouth, That's basically what you do with a full bag of chips now, is you just tear it open and drink it. Because there's rarely 5 or 10 chips that are big enough to even dip into a sour cream and onion dip or whatever your preferred dip is. But yeah, that fucking irritates me. It really does. And adding to that is what we're calling inflation now. It's not really inflation. I think a little bit of it was inflation. It was the post-COVID inflation, but it's gotten to a point where it's just gouging. It has been gouging for like a year now. I used to buy the bigger bottles, the single bottles of Gatorade, orange Gatorade. I love my orange Gatorade. And they were like 89 cents. And all of a sudden they jumped up to like, $1.29. Then it was $1.39. And then when they hit like $1.39, they changed the bottle, and there was actually 4 ounces less in the bottle, and yet they were charging like 50, 60 cents more. Well, my wife got her infusion Thursday, and I was picking up some groceries because she really feels like shit for like a good week or week and a half after she gets her infusion. And I was getting her some of the fruit punch Gatorade, or I was going to, and I was going to buy her a couple of those big bottles. $2.39. They went from 89 cents less than 2 years ago to $2.39. That's not fucking inflation. That is not inflation. That is just flat out, we're going to starve out people. They're not going to be able to enjoy anything in life anymore. It's out of hand. It's not inflation. It's gouging. It's gouging, and the reason I say that is because companies are recording 10 and 15-year record profits. So how is that inflation. Inflation is our cost of goods went up. So we still have to hit our line, which is understandable. That's how businesses work. So we're going to raise our prices accordingly, so we still hit our bottom line. But it's not bottom line anymore. It's like, no, we need to go way up here. We're gonna go way up here because everybody else is doing it. Like I said last week, a bag of Fritos is like fucking almost $6. I mean, they used to be, they were a little bit higher end, a little bit more expensive than like, a bag of chips or whatever. But they weren't $6. They weren't $5.89. They were, $3.49, and a bag of chips was, $2.29 or whatever. It's not inflation, people. It's not inflation. It's companies just sticking it up your ass because they don't fucking care. Until we stop buying their products altogether, collectively, they don't care. As long as they're hitting their numbers, they don't care. And I'm not going to go off on a long tangent about that. On the other side of that coin, you have people that work for tips or get tips, waitresses, delivery people. But tipping's out of hand. Now everybody orders everything online. You don't usually go somewhere and walk in and order it and wait. You usually order it online and then you swing in and pick it up. But when you do that, they ask for a tip. Like, who am I tipping? Like, you're not doing, the only thing you're doing is cooking the food that you normally would be cooking. You're not waiting on me. You're not bringing me an extra drink. You're not cleaning up my dishes after I'm done. You're doing nothing. I have to order it. I have to drive there. I have to get out of my car. I have to walk in. I have to get it, and I carry it out to my car. Who the fuck am I tipping? And there's another question. Who am I tipping? That's the question that we need to be asking. Do all these tips go into, and I'm not talking about like Uber Eats and shit, because that's a whole nother fucking thing. But I'm talking like restaurants and stuff like that. I tip, when I go out to eat, I tip the waitress based on the service. Like if he or she was a really good server, then they're going to get a decent tip. I'm not made of money. I can only tip what I can tip, but if my tip that I'm tipping my server goes into a jar and then they split it at the end of the night, that's bullshit, because there might be two other servers that work for that place that are complete assholes and numbfucks. Why should they get the same percentage that the people that are actually busting their ass and doing a good job? Why should they get the same percentage? We live in this everybody gets a trophy kind of world. Well, no, not everybody gets a trophy. Not in my world anyways. But when it comes to tips, and then restaurants say, we're going to charge, a specific gratuity based on, like, if there's 6 people, it's going to be this much. And if there's 10 people, it's going to be... Well, that's bullshit, too. And like, if you can't... I've even seen some videos where they were like, if you're not willing to pay this gratuity, then don't fucking come here. Okay, then don't go there. And then when nobody goes there and buys your food, we're not even talking tips at this point. Nobody goes there and buys your fucking food, then you go out of business. Tough shit. Because you're an asshole. How about you pay your servers at least a livable wage? Because servers generally don't even make minimum wage. Their tips are what they live on. So why do I have to pay your employees? The tip is a perk because you did a good job. It's not I'm not paying your fucking salary. It's time for these. Tipping's just out of hand. I've seen videos where Uber Eats. Like I said, that's a whole nother thing. But people are pissed off because the tip wasn't big enough and this and that, and I had to drive 15 minutes to deliver your food, and you only gave me it, and it's like, then get a different job. If Uber Eats isn't paying the people enough, and they have to rely, I'm sorry, I'm buying a fucking pizza and it's getting delivered to my house by Uber Eats. The pizza was $25. You think I'm going to give you a $40 fucking tip? Grow the fuck up. That's not how the world works. It just doesn't. And I'm sorry, and I'm going to move on from that because I don't want to get too fired up about it. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to just double check, make sure this video camera is, or this camera is still recording. And so I'm going to take a 2-minute break just to make sure everything's good. All right, well, that turned into just checking the camera into like a fucking half hour. I decided to go out and have a smoke real quick, and found out that Matthew Perry died. He was only 54 years old. I know he had a lot of drug and alcohol problems. Not really sure what the deal is. The only thing I heard was that an ambulance was called for a cardiac arrest, but they're calling it a drowning and no foul play. So we'll hear more tomorrow, I'm sure. But yeah, that's kind of a downer. If you were a fan of Friends back in the day, Chandler, it's kind of a bummer. But getting back into my pet peeves, and one that I wrote down because I was off for like a half an hour instead of like 2 minutes, which was the plan, is people that don't keep their word. That is one of my biggest pet peeves is, if you say you're going to help somebody do something, then fucking do it. And if you don't do it, you're a piece of shit. There's no other way to say it. I feel like in so many circumstances in my life, I've been there for people, but when I need people, they're not there for me. Whether it's moving from one house to another, or just, a shoulder to lean on or whatever. I feel like I've been there a million fucking times, and it's just not been reciprocated. I'm not going to get into the whole thing that brought that up, but it's just, if you say you're going to help somebody move, and then you don't show up, like, what are people supposed to think of you for that? I never turned this goddamn thing on. I always forget something. It doesn't matter what it is. And yeah, I'm going to struggle until I figure it out. Oh, there it is. God damn it. There it is. We're on air. But yeah, if you can't do something, then just say you can't do it. I can't make it. I can't. Or if nothing else, come up with a decent lie. That's what I used to do if I couldn't do so. You fucking come up with something. It's just, but now it's just like, like I just won't show up, and that's just, and then I don't know if you don't expect people to call you out for that. You said you were going to be here. We were expecting you to be here. Like there's countless times I've helped people move, and then when I moved, it was like, they just disappeared. Come help us move. We're going to get beer and pizza, and when we're done, we're going to, have fun. And then, you're done moving all the fucking heavy furniture and shit, and no beer, no pizza, and it's like, okay, I guess I'm heading out. That was a day that I won't get back, and it wasn't fun because we were moving furniture all day. Least thought I was going to get a slice of pizza and a beer, but that didn't even happen. So, whatever. I'm going to move on from that one so I don't get too fired up. I don't want to get too fired up. We're at the, what is it, the 28th of October. So it's almost Halloween. Not quite. But what really gets me is Halloween kind of fucking sucks now. It has for several years. When my wife and I lived in Charlotte, we used to deck the whole house out for Halloween, and we had trick-or-treaters coming, and some people weren't even trick-or-treaters. It was just mom and dad thinking they were going to come and get, like, candy. It's like, no, you got to wear a costume or whatever. But, to avoid confrontation, you just gave everybody candy. Several years we ran out of candy. I mean, and I don't even know how, now, a bag of decent candy. Yeah, you can get the shitty bags. And I say shitty. I mean, candy's all good. It's not shitty candy, but I'm talking about the mini Snickers and Kit Kats and chocolate and hell, when I was a kid, my grandfather used to make popcorn balls. He was a master popcorn maker, and he used to make popcorn balls and pass those out. I mean, you could never pass popcorn balls out even 20 years ago, probably, but let alone now, like a homemade thing, like cookies or popcorn balls or something like that, cupcakes. Yeah, I mean, they might take them, but the parents are going to, I would nope, you're not eating that. Nope. And that's why kids don't trick or treat, because there's so many fucking weirdos out there now. And it sucks. It sucks. Like I said, my wife and I used to, Halloween was like a cool holiday for us. We used to just decorate the whole yard, and people would come and take pictures in front of our house with their kids, and it was just cool. It was a fun time. But now it's all trunk or treat and stuff, and I understand why, because you're going to go somewhere where people are going to pass out, candy. People that you know and trust and stuff like that are going to pass out candy to your kids, and so you're not going to be that worried about it or as worried about it. But it's just unfortunate, because Halloween was such a fun holiday when I was a kid. Going door to door, trick or treating, and doing that stuff. It's just, times have changed so drastically. There are just so many fucking weirdos out there. It really sucks for kids nowadays. Have some things better and then some things worse than I had it as a kid. But Halloween was one of those holidays. I mean, we've been here, I think 4 Halloweens and never had a trick-or-treater. It's not the neighborhood where there's no sidewalks or anything like that, so it's not conducive to trick-or-treating, but still, used to, enjoy the kids and seeing what they were wearing and stuff like that. It was fun. But we don't see that anymore. This is a huge pet peeve or a thing that irritates me for some reason. And I know the whole ASMR thing, I don't like whispering. Whispering annoys me. I hate it. My wife will do that. But, I mean, if we're somewhere, and then people could be 100 yards away, and she's like, I'm like, I can't fucking hear you. I can't. What are you saying? You can speak, and those people are not going to hear us. They're too far away to hear us, unless they have, the miracle ear in or something. But eating on video or drinking on video for no reason. Like, I just took a sip of wine. That was because that was necessity. I needed that sip of wine. But I watched so many videos, and the video will start, and this is how the video starts. And here we are. It's like, why didn't you take that drink before you put record or hit record? And then the eating thing is even more annoying because I don't like hearing people chew, especially when they're like on like video with a microphone near their face. I just don't understand why your video, like, here's the opening of the video. Like, why? Why are you doing this? Doesn't make any sense to me. If you're trying foods for the first time or whatever, Dana Lee and I have done that several times with the Does It Suck segment where we were trying shit. I generally sped up the chewing part so you didn't really hear that. But the whole thing was we were trying food. Or if you're doing a cooking thing and you have to taste test a couple things, I completely understand it. But when it's just a random video where you're talking about your neighbor's dog barked last night, but you open it up with a mouthful of fucking Doritos, I just don't even, like, why? What is the point? I don't want to hear you chew, and I generally swipe through that. But like I said, the whole ASMR thing, some people are into that. They like hearing people chew, I guess. Some people are into feet. Feet make me sick to my stomach. I don't even like my own feet. I'm not sticking anybody's toes in my mouth. Never going to happen. No. Don't get why you eat on video for no reason. Explain it to me, please. Somebody please explain it to me. Another thing that annoys me, and I used to, like, every morning I would turn on Sports Center. Every morning before I went to work or whatever. Like, that was like a TV on, Sports Center. Like, I want to know all the ins and outs of all the sports that happened last night while I was sleeping or you know, whatever. I can't even watch it anymore. It's so fucking annoying. These, whoever they are, I don't even know who they are. They're not ex-athletes or anything. I mean, it used to be different with Dan Patrick, and I mean, there was, you know, Chris Berman. Now it's these guys, and they're giving you the rundown of the baseball game last night, and like everything is like it's a one-liner. It's like they're stand-up comedians. Problem is they're not funny. It's like, why are you trying to throw a joke in, and then the next guy talks, and then he's got to throw a joke in, and it's just back and forth banter bullshit, and we're not even talking about the game really. It's just stupid. Drives me fucking crazy. I don't watch it anymore, and you wonder why ESPN is basically going bankrupt. Could have something to do with Disney buying them out and owning half the fucking world. But yeah, that's why people my age don't watch SportsCenter, because it's just not funny. When I turn SportsCenter on, I want you to tell me, like, just tell me. I don't need a joke. You know, I don't need a one-liner every 10 seconds. I just don't need it. Just tell me what the fuck happened and move along. And then the whole, and this started going on probably 8 or 10 years ago, where they all wear, you know, suits. But then they, you know, somebody started wearing, like, you know, sneakers or tennis shoes or whatever you want to call them. And that just became like the thing. They all do it now. And if that's not annoying enough, like, that doesn't really necessarily annoy me. It's just kind of stupid. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, why wear the suit? Why aren't they just, I mean, they're sports guys. They're doing sports. Why not just wear, like, t-shirt and jeans and a pair of sneakers? I don't know why they have to wear suits. But I guess their one little escape is I can wear tennis shoes. But they all stand up there like, like the Sunday morning. Like I used to love watching, NFL Countdown on ESPN. And it used to be like, 2 or 3 people. Now it's like 6 or 7 people, and they're all loud and obnoxious, and they're laughing, and they're talking over each other, and it's like, oh my God, this is not what I want. And they're not talking about anything important. They're talking more like Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce crap, which, that's not their fault. I won't put all that on them. That's the media's fault because, well, I guess football is not exciting enough. We've got to talk about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce fucking. Who gives a shit? I don't give a shit. Do you give a shit? I don't give a shit. I really don't. But, why not? Why not show her 27 times during the game, jumping up and down when Travis, does what he gets paid to do, I did see where she might skip the game tomorrow because Denver plays Kansas City tomorrow. Well, Kansas City is in Denver tomorrow. And I don't know if I said that at the beginning of the podcast. I think I missed that. I think I skipped over it. We actually won last week. We beat the Packers 19-17. It wasn't a great game. And basically, I walked out towards the end of the game. I thought it was over. I thought we lost the game. We ended up pulling it out, but it was not, by any means, we did not look great or anything. So I don't have high hopes for tomorrow. But, yeah, I'm going to wear Broncos stuff once in a while. I figured I would. I have the shit. I need to wear it. But yeah, I don't think anybody cares about Taylor Swift being at the game. Not football fans, anyways. Like they're just like, just shut up about it. Who cares? Like I don't care that they're dating. It was the same thing when Tony Romo and Jessica Simpson were dating. When he played for the Cowboys, they were always showing her. She was up in this, and it's like, just leave it alone. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers when he was dating Danica Patrick and some of the other girls that he dated. It's like this has nothing to do with the game. Nobody cares. Some people care, I guess, or they wouldn't keep doing it. But all right, moving on from Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. I can't even believe I talked about it on the podcast. One of the things that really wrinkles my feathers is tutorial videos on YouTube. Some people are really good at it, and some people completely fucking suck. You're like 5 minutes into the video, and they're still talking about themselves and what they do and how they do it, and then they're all their sponsors and this and that. And then when they actually start talking about what the video was titled, it's something completely different, or it's just so painstakingly awful. It's like, oh my God, how does this person have 10,000 or 20,000 or 100,000? Like, who's learning anything from this fucking person? I find YouTube very useful when it comes to like learning how to do things. But it's also a process going through all the freaking bad videos. There's just so many people that are not teachers. They just can't teach. And really, when you're just focused on yourself and your channel and this and that, you're not going to be good at it anyways. Another thing is the the budget videos on YouTube. Build a small home studio on a budget. And then the first thing they do is like, first thing you need to get is a desk. This desk was only $2,700. Okay, what's your budget? Because, like, I think we have different ideas of what budget means. Like, I'm on a budget means I can only spend this much money. And when you're the first thing you want me to buy is a $3,000 desk. No, I'm like, even when you put in like how to build a studio desk for, on a budget or $100 budget, they come up and it's like, well, I've heard, it's like, and they're already like, $300 above the $100 budget, like 2 minutes into the video. And it's like, what the fuck? People don't know what budget means. When I say budget, when I'm saying build a table on a budget, I'm talking about this fucking table right here. I bought the stand. It's like a restaurant table stand. My father-in-law had a round desktop. It wasn't even a desktop or tabletop, I should say. It was actually the one side of one of those giant cable spools that he acquired somehow. And we finished we sanded the table and finished it and all that. And then we mounted it to the stand that I bought for like $50. That's a budget. That's what I'm talking about. Because and everything we used other than the stand that I bought was shit that we had. So that's a budget. That's what a fucking budget is, motherfuckers. Not like go out and buy a $7,500 keyboard. Because you got to have this. This is an essential for a basic home studio. You got to have a $7,500 keyboard. I'm talking about like a typing keyboard, not an actual keyboard. But yeah, cell phone drivers, tailgaters, people that can't stay in their lane. That's a big thing for me. When you're 3-4 cars behind the red light and you can see the red light and it turns green and nobody fucking moves. Nobody moves. And then finally the first car goes and the second car goes and then the light turns yellow and the third car goes, but by the time you get there it's red. It's because the motherfucker that was sitting there first was looking at their fucking phone and not paying attention to anything except what was going on in their little world. And same with tailgaters. Like, I'm doing 50 and a 40 and you're on my ass. Like, no, fuck you. I slow down to like 20 and they can get really pissed or whatever. And then people that like are fucking around in the cars and they swerve into your lane all the time. It happens almost every single time I go out. Or people cutting corners when they're going around a corner. That's generally what we do. If you're a race car driver, you would, go in. But when you're crossing the double line, there might be a car coming the other way. You're in my lane, asshole. What am I supposed to do? Drive into the tree on the side of the road because you think you're Mario Andretti? I don't know. This whole night just kind of took a turn where I didn't know it was going to go. I don't want to go too long about drivers because Dan Lee and I have talked about drivers several times. HOA bullshit. Like, I would never live in a neighborhood that had a HOA. I mean, you're not allowed to have your garage door open. You're not like the garbage comes at 5 o'clock, or let's say the garbage pickup is at 8 o'clock on Tuesday, but you're not allowed to have your garbage cans out on the curb after 9 o'clock on Tuesday. So what am I supposed to do? Leave work, drive all the way home, pull the garbage can inside the garage, and then go back to work. Just stupid shit like that. It's ridiculous. HOA and I believe I've talked about the HOA incident in the neighborhood I lived in Charlotte when they were trying to squeeze money out of us and saying we owed the HOA this, and it was like, we don't have an HOA. There is no HOA. But they were actually getting money out of people, and we kind of got the neighborhood involved. Then it went on the news, and yeah, I don't know how many people we saved money, but some people spent money. But I wouldn't, I wasn't paying them shit. I think just the whole, like you got a stain in your driveway. I know, but what am I supposed to do? Spend $1,000 to get the stain out of my driveway? My car leaked some oil or something. But you got these, Karens, I guess, if you want to call them Karens. I didn't get into that. Because, I'm not a big fan of the whole Karen thing. Just you're specifying a name. There's a lot of people named Karen that aren't Karens. There's reasoning behind it or whatever, but none of it makes any fucking sense. Just say you're a fucking dumbass, or you're a bitch, or you're a fucking asshole. But you just every day on TikTok you see videos where somebody's just being a Karen, and it's like, how do you not know you're on video? Everything's on video now. Like, how are you acting this way knowing that you're on video? Like, and people are losing their jobs and shit over it now. Because these, people are calling them out on social media, and their companies are finding out about it, and they're like, we don't want anything to do with it. You're fired. So, but yet it still continues. So, I don't know. Just a few more, and we're going to call this an episode. The resealable bags, and I'm not talking about like the Ziploc storage bags that you buy at home, but like you buy like cheese at the grocery store, cheese slices or shredded cheese, or there's an endless amount of things that come in resealable bags. But the bags never seem to fucking reseal. I've literally spent 10 minutes like trying to reseal a fucking bag, and the some of it just won't fucking reseal. It just won't reseal because it's shitty fucking. It's like, why even bother? Just like, number one, it's the tear thing, the perforated thing. Like, even on a box or anything where it's perforated, it never tears where it's perforated. Why even bother perforating it? Just let me just tear the box open. Because that's what happens when I open the box. It just fucking, like, there's the perforation. And you're like me, like, I'm a perfectionist. I want to tear it right on the line. Never fucking tears. Always tears halfway off. But yeah, the resealable bags and the perforations, and it's like, why even bother? Just quit doing it and lower your price. Just ixnay the technology that doesn't work. And the last thing before I call this an episode is allergies. Allergies really fucking pissing me off. They're irritating as fucking hell. And I have them pretty much all year round now. It's just different phases of the allergies. Certain times of year, like, I have headaches, and then other times of year, I just, like, my nose is running or I'm stuffed up. There's sometimes, like, certain, like, that's where I'm at right now. Because it's almost Halloween, and it's fucking 80-some degrees outside. It's like going on 10 o'clock at night, and it's still, like, I'm in shorts and a t-shirt. I can go outside. And then in 2 days, it's going to be down to like the 50s. It just wreaks havoc on my sinuses. But yeah, there's certain times of year where I actually feel like, oh shit, I'm sick. And so I'm taking my temperature all the time. I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually sick. Yeah, but I'm not. It's just fucking allergies. But those are some of the things that irritate me. I don't want to go through an entire list because it would be like 10 hours. It would be a 10-hour podcast if I told you everything that irritated me, because the list is literally endless. But those are just some of the ones that I came up with to talk about on this episode. But anyways, I hope I was a little better prepared this episode than last week. It's a challenge doing a podcast by myself when I'm not used to doing it by myself. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and we're going to call this one an episode. Thanks for listening. I am the Kid, and we'll catch you next time.